Greetings, programs. NeoMegaMan back again for part 7 of Let's Play Katawa Shoujo Ren's Path. Well, last time ended on a rather sour note, so let's see if we can pick things up with something a little brighter today, maybe. Today's art club meeting is currently on hold while everyone waits for Nomiya to show up. I take this time to try and explain my theory about Yamaku to Rin. I've tried to figure out exactly what about the school feels so special to me. That concept I unsuccessfully tried to explain to Yuko the other day. It's still difficult, but the track meet and the time I've spent observing my fellow students have helped my ideas mature a little. Have you noticed that people talk all the time? I can't really explain it, but once again, as I try to explain my observation, I'm struggling for words. The student body is heavily clicked, and I'm only now beginning to make sense of the intricate grouping and popularity networks. And yet, the feeling of being a part of a group is stronger here than I remember it being in my old schools. I'm trying to say that this school isn't like other schools, or at least the students aren't, even after discounting the obvious. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what you mean. Oh well, whatever then. I want to pursue the issue, but at that point Nomiya arrives. The teacher's wiping sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief and breathing rather heavily. He quickly glances over the room, then settles down a bit. Hello. Apologies for being late. Is everyone present? Good. I must confess I haven't really planned anything for today, as I've been extremely busy lately. But I'm sure we can come up with something entertaining. Anyone have any suggestions? I was thinking we could have a discussion circle, since we haven't had one in a while. I, at least, found the last one magnificently enjoyable. There are some murmurs here and there, but nobody raises their voice in support of or against Nomiya. We could delve into various movements of art. Or does someone have a good topic in mind? Come on, throw it out there. It doesn't matter if it's silly or odd, we can always cook up something interesting. Nobody seems to be brave enough to make such a suggestion. As the awkward silence refuses to be broken, I lift my hand in the air. Oh ho! Our newest friend seems to have something on his mind. Speak up, my boy, speak up. Well, I don't know about anyone else, but I've always wondered why art exists in the first place. My voice trails off. A silence sets in the room, and nobody makes a follow-up on my meek suggestion. Then Nomiya bursts out laughing. Oh, excellent! Very good indeed. Right out of the gate with the big one, huh? Fabulous! Chuckling, he shifts some papers around on his desk for a few moments. When he's done, he appears to have made some sort of decision. Very well then, let us run with this and see where it gets us, shall we? What's that tongue? Oh my, even an old fogey like me gets excited when such delicious enthusiasm is present. Oh my, indeed. I can't even. Oh, whoops. Let me gather my thoughts a moment so I can figure out a good starting point for everyone. For some reason, the teacher seems to be almost literally bursting with excitement. He scribbles a few things down on a loose sheet of paper, then cleans his glasses with a handkerchief. He strikes a pose, then freezes for an overtly dramatic, artistic pause that spans to be what must be half a minute. It's so quiet I could hear a pin drop. First, let's come up with a few questions that we want answered, such as what is art, and why does art exist? Anyone have any questions that might be related? The boy with the sunglasses pipes up almost immediately. His voice is soft and quiet, and I have a hard time making out what he says. What defines an artist? After him, another question comes up. If I fill up a cardboard box with water and call it art, is it art? Everyone laughs at that, even the teacher. Great, wonderful, all of these. Let me start by saying that this is not a clear-cut issue by any means, and as such I'm not going to give any answers to you. I'm only going to speak from my own perspective. Scholars have argued about these sorts of questions since time immemorial, and there has never really been a broadly acceptable or applicable consensus reached. There are, however, some qualities that most tend to generally agree upon. Hopefully you should all find these acceptable as well. In short, art defines itself. It simply cannot be contained to a definition from the outside, since the boundaries of art expand and contract from forces within. Every day, someone somewhere comes up with something completely outrageous that challenges any and all preconceptions. The core reason for this is that rather than the rational side of the mind, art appeals to the intuition, instinct, the primal. You would find it very hard to explain why exactly it is that you enjoy some particular style of piece, no? He doesn't wait for a response before continuing. Nomiya does that. This is exactly why. So art is this sort of wild, uncontrollable thing that lurks somewhere deep in your subconscious. Now, why does it exist? Nomiya apparently expects someone to pipe in with a guess, but as nobody dares to interrupt his inspired speech, he continues. It was a trick question. You see, art also validates itself. Generally speaking, you might say that art exists for no other purpose than itself. It's something that exists merely to leave a mark in history. It's the defiance of a mortal against the face of darkness, as once was said. Art is truly the proof of our existence. You all should know that human culture and civilization are tightly tied to the existence of art. Then, what about artists? What drives a man to dedicate his life to a thing so fickle and mysterious that it even defies definition? There are as many answers for this as there are artists, but if I had to put it into words, an artist doesn't make art because he can, but because he must. Nomiya takes a pause, and his gaze sweeps over his audience, eyes flaring with passion. It is obvious that art touches the very soul of each and every human being in one way or another. So, if you were given a chance to connect with your fellow man in such a fundamental way, how could you not? There's a poem I'm very much fond of, and I shall recite the most well-known part of it to you now. I feel that, for me personally, of all possible things, it captures best the essence of what it means to be an artist. Nomiya leans against the desk as he clears his throat in preparation. Looking at some distant place, he utters the words in the heavy afternoon air with his soft basso voice. To see a world in a grain of sand, and heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. Current music track, To Become One. This is usually reserved for other things, if you've seen my other playthrough. There's a solemn and unbelievably awkward silence as after he finishes reciting the short fragment. Nobody dares speak a word. Nomiya clears his throat again. To be an artist is to see the world in a grain of sand. You see, dear children, without art there would not be much to live for in this world. It is a most profound thing. He's clearly touched by this notion. I almost expect to see a lone tear rolling down his rough cheek, but it never comes. I turn to Rin and whisper to her, So how is this a discussion circle? She shrugs nonchalantly back at me. The previous ones were the same. To his credit, Nomiya does try to get some debate going, but the club seems to be reluctant to comply. I feel a bit guilty about opening my mouth. Maybe we would have been spared from this. As the meeting comes to a close, I realize we haven't once touched paint or pens today, and I feel somewhat disappointed. Nomiya suddenly appears next to us. He seems to be still fired up from the speech he delivered. His cologne smells musky and saccharine at the same time, giving me an instant headache. Even though I'm not sensitive to perfumes, he's looking at Rin like a hungry wolf. Tezuka, do you remember Miss Saionji who visited us at the festival? I think so. I'm going to tell you something amazing. The thing is, she's a very well-known gallerist around here. It turns out I might be able to get her to consider having some of your work put on display. He ends his sentence with a dramatic gesture. It seems he's expecting Rin to show some sort of joyous, shocked reaction at such grand news, but she just stares at him blankly. Magnificent, isn't it? This could be a real chance for us to get ahead, girl. But... Now, I know what you're about to say. Yes, it wouldn't be a simple affair, but I think this is an absolutely fantastic opportunity. Frankly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we even made it big. This could be the first step, and then when the word is out, we'll strike where the iron is hot. Right, Nakai? Yeah, it does sound pretty great, if you're into that kind of thing. See, we should definitely not let this one pass, am I right? I don't really. Rin seems to be troubled for some reason. I can't figure out why. What Nomiya is saying does indeed sound like possibly a great thing. She looks pretty down, though, and confused. I've never seen her like this. So what do you think? Rin looks up at her teacher's glowing face, then back down at her desk. I'll think about it. Nomiya is at last taken slightly aback by Rin's lack of superlative delight. Then he smiles widely at her and gently pats her head. Good girl. The club meeting is finally over, and as I lazily collect my things and help clean up, I start feeling exhausted for some reason. There isn't much to do, however, so it's over quickly. I catch up to Rin, who's left the club room just a moment earlier, so we're walking down the stairs to the ground floor while I try to go over Nomiya's passionate speech about art, and Rin seems to be lost in thought. Not an unusual state for her, I've learned, but something about her expression makes me feel uneasy. Penny for your thoughts. That'd be too cheap. You're just overpricing your thoughts. I wouldn't be able to sell them anyway. I'm not sure what I'm thinking yet. That'd be fraud, too, like stealing candy from a baby. That's theft, not fraud. I have to think about what I think. Is this about what the teacher said? Getting your work put on display and all that? She doesn't answer, but stops in her tracks as we reach the lobby. We're the only people around, so it's very quiet. Footsteps echo from the few floors up as someone hurries along the hallway. I think I'm going to go somewhere elsewhere. I think she's really troubled. Want company? I can't promise much help with the thinking, but it's not like I have much else to do, and I'm supposed to do some light exercise. If you like. Oh boy. Rin leads me outside to the wall behind the dormitory. There's a small back gate there, made from some wrought iron, the same wrought iron as the main gate. It leads to the shadowy woodland park behind the school. The gate is rusty, as if it hasn't seen much use. However, it sits open, so we pass through. It's not forbidden for students to leave the grounds, but I somehow feel a little uneasy. A path leads deeper into the forest. Tall zelkova and maple trees rustle in the wind, their canopies creating patches of chill air hanging in the places where the shadows fall. The forest smells strongly of earth. I almost feel cold, even though the midsummer day is hot as ever. Rin trudges ahead like a sleepwalker, sure-footed but with no apparent destination in mind. Her thoughts seem to be somewhere else. I follow a few steps behind, taking more care to watch where my feet land. The path follows the land uphill at a low angle, sometimes making little detours downhill before climbing back upward. The muted brown and gray trunks line the path on both sides, peppered with ferns and other undergrowth. After a little while, I start getting worried. The path is still wide and clear, so there's no chance of getting lost, but it doesn't look like we have any particular destination. There's nothing wrong with a bit of aimless wandering around, but I don't want to get so far that I get too tired to walk back. I'm starting to get a little winded and my legs feel heavy. I want to stop and get a chance to catch my breath and rest my legs, but Rin keeps going. Where are we going? Or are we going anywhere at all? Worry tree. I see. So what exactly is the worry tree? It's just a tree, like this. She stops in front of a particularly large maple that might or may not be the worry tree. Its lush green leaves sway slightly in the breeze, blowing through the small clearing that we entered. I guessed as much. There are people who believe that you must come here to wallow in misery if you're miserable. Only by people, I mean me. And the tree isn't really called anything. So if you're miserable, you talk to a tree about it? No. What? You can't talk to trees. What do you think I am, crazy? No, I didn't mean it like that. Or maybe you talk to trees? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that you're crazy, even though you probably are if you talk to trees. I wouldn't recommend it in either case. People will think you're a weird person. No, just forget it. Excuse me. She looks mildly confused, for which I don't blame her at all. She tilts her head a little to the side, expression melting back to her usual one. Alright, I'm good at forgetting things. So why are we here? Are you miserable then? I can't read the expression she makes. I hate how bad I am at interpreting Rin's mood. She doesn't answer right away, as if she herself isn't quite certain of her own mood. The blank stare changes into a more difficult expression as she shuffles her weight around. Finally, coming to a conclusion, Rin shrugs her shoulders. I've grown to seriously dislike that gesture. It doesn't mean anything. Maybe. I just feel kind of like I'm sinking underwater. I don't know what I should do. I don't know where I should go, that's all. Maybe it's not a big deal, but I thought walking might help. Kinda like if I go somewhere, I would know where I should go. I don't really know if it did. It really would have made sense if walking had helped decide where to go. So you don't want to try to get an exhibition? Or rather, you don't know if you do? Can't decide? Rin doesn't say anything for a while, arranging her thoughts in silence. The quiet is broken by birdsong from somewhere in the treetops, followed by rustling leaves as the bird takes flight. Maybe. I'm not sure if I can have a thing like that. So far I've only painted for myself. I don't think I could have my things on display the way I am now. This me couldn't do it. Her reason sounds like a weak excuse. I make my trademark frown, but she doesn't notice it. I don't get it. The teacher certainly thinks you could. I don't think he'd suggest it otherwise. It sounds like he's calling in favors from friends, too. I know. He's really done a lot for me. But this might be too much. Becoming someone who can do it might be pretty hard. Maybe I couldn't do it at all. He can't do it for me, and if I let him try, I'd just sink deeper and deeper. Rin stands in front of the large maple and turns away from me. I want to close the few feet of distance between us, and I don't know. My irritation is suddenly gone, and I start feeling sympathetic to her. I know exactly how you feel. Well, maybe I don't, but still. I think I haven't felt like I was actually in control of my own life this whole year. I'm just helplessly going along with the flow. Like coming here to this school. I didn't really choose it myself, and I certainly didn't choose this time of my life to learn that I have this condition. I still can't actually say the word aloud. It's like, yeah, it's exactly like being underwater. Like I can't even breathe. Rin turns to face me again, a sad expression on her face. Is that why you look so sad all the time? I don't want to look sad like you. Do I look to you like you look to me? I don't look sad all the time. I just don't know what I should be feeling. What kind of face I should be making. Me neither. Do I look sad now? Not really. You look like you always do, I think. But I'm sinking. I should try to float. Up. Like a rubber duck. Quack, quack, all yellow and creepy. I have to think for a few seconds about which direction I should pursue in this conversation until I realize it doesn't matter. You think rubber ducks are creepy? You don't? I think they look very creepy. Everything that has eyes but isn't alive is very disturbing. like rubber ducks and reflections in mirrors. Plop. She plops down on the forest bed, leaning on the maple tree she named the Worry Tree. After wondering what to do for a minute, I sit down 2-3 feet apart from her. The forest envelops us in its embrace, and its stillness falls upon the two of us. We sit there without speaking for a long while. I can literally feel the time passing. Patches of sunlight litter the small clearing in a pattern that echoes the maple canopies. One of them falls directly on me, warming me all the way to the bone. I wonder what I could do for myself, and maybe for Rin. For now, I just keep watching her from this distance. Sometimes she cranes her neck all the way back, so much so that it looks like it's almost painful, and stares up at the small patch of sky visible past the canopy of the Worry Tree. Sometimes she just stares blankly ahead, as if seeing something just beyond her reach. She keeps whispering to herself, but so quietly that I can't hear her, even though I'm sitting right next to her. I only see her lips moving like she was in the middle of a distant dream. I realize that right now I no longer feel any of the intense loneliness I feel at night, just before falling asleep. I might be more like Rin than I thought. I can either give up and stay submerged under the weight of all the crap in my life, or try to change myself for the better. Her decision is different, yet the same. And unlike her, I know for sure that I can't stay like this forever. I have to change. Okay, decision gate time. Now, which one is the one that I want to pick? Okay, if you're going to go for the path that I'm going for, you should pick that you want to be more like Emmy. But since I want to have one particular choice be the choice that sends me down the path I'm going down, I'm going to say he wants to be more like Rin. Rin could probably do it. Even though she seems to doubt herself, I have no doubts about her strength. She could do it even if I can't. It makes me feel a little bit better, too, and I lean back against the tree, breathing out deeply as if for the first time in a long time. We stay that way in the small clearing until the angle of the sun changes and the chilly shadows deepen. No longer warm where we sit, we leave the forest, returning along the same path we took coming in. It doesn't seem like Rin has come to a decision. I wonder if it was a bad idea for me to come along. It's alright. I don't mind. I'm sure the trees and dirt and rocks won't mind either. Did you mind? No, not at all. I think it helped me too. While we walk back to the dormitories, the sky is changing to a deep ultramarine. The first summer stars twinkle softly from between spots in the canopy, barely visible like tiny fireflies. I become very self-conscious about Rin's presence. I haven't thought much about girls since things fell apart with you and Nako. This is kind of the same situation as then, but to be honest, I don't think it really counts for much. Not with Rin. And yet, it feels good walking next to her, even if it isn't anything more than this. At first, I think Rin agitated me quite a bit with her unpredictable behavior, but recently I feel I haven't had to be on my toes so much. I've managed to let myself go a little. It makes me feel satisfied, even though ultimately I think it's more thanks to Rin than myself. She seems to be disinterested in a huge number of things, but something in her makes me try harder than I normally would. It's not that I want to impress her. I think that truly impressing Rin would take near superhuman effort just because of how she is. Instead, it's because there's this relentless feeling inside of me that I shouldn't let Rin down. It's really weird. I wonder when I started thinking like that. I don't even know what sort of expectations she has about pretty much anything. So how could I let her down? Rin has this unassuming air around her, and she doesn't really talk about stuff very often. Even today's confession of her self-doubt caught me a little bit off guard. I feel like I want to talk more with her. The realization suddenly dawns on me that Rin is basically the only person I talk to nowadays, apart from whenever I have to endure Shizune, Misha, or Kenji. I feel slightly depressed. In front of the dormitories, as if summoned by my dark thoughts, we run into Kenji himself. It feels very odd seeing him outside, breathing fresh outdoor air. At least it's already dusk. I partially expect Kenji would disintegrate upon exposure to the sun. Kenji himself seems very insecure as well, standing around looking like he's waiting for something, but doesn't know himself what it might be. Hey Kenji, what are you doing? Hello. Who are you? It's me, Hisao. I'm not sure if you know Tezuka from Class 3-4. From his face, I can see that he doesn't only... From his face, I can see that he not only doesn't know Rin, he also can't see her from this short distance. Oh, what's up, dudes? Kenji sticks his hand enthusiastically forward, almost straight into Rin's stomach. Rin looks at his outstretched hand in confusion until Kenji clears his throat and retracts the hand. There's something almost cool that he manages to do that with social awkwardness. It's not like I'm the most suave man on the planet, but I don't think I'll ever be able to even approach Kenji's level. Because he is a spaz captain. I think I respect Kenji a little bit more. Just a little. So you're waiting for someone? He leans closer and lowers his voice in an agitated whisper. I see his facial muscles twitching. Come on, man, you know I can't talk about stuff here in public. You might be listening. I'm gonna have to go pick up some stuff from somewhere, and I don't want those snooping student council hags to get on my case. Also, I don't trust your friend. Nothing personal. Are you sure he's trustworthy? I briefly considered telling Kenji about Rin's gender, but as it might end up badly for one or both of them, I decided against it. Yeah, I'm sure. He turns from me to Rin, and I immediately get the feeling that I have to prevent them from talking to each other with whatever means necessary. However, there is little I can do now, apart from physical violence. In that case, would you be interested in knowing about the worst threat to mankind since they invented vegetarianism? Invented vegetarianism. He sounds like a vacuum cleaner salesman. I thought it was Sunday. I see you're not in the know. Yeah, man, I'm talking about man-eating cows here. Very few people know what I know, so I'm not surprised. We can't talk here, but if you'd like a pamphlet, come to my room after curfew on Mondays or Wednesdays. He suddenly reaches into his pocket and draws out a ballpoint pen and what looks like a convenience store receipt. Kenji furiously scribbles on the scrap of paper and then thrusts it towards Rin. Here's the password. Memorize it and then eradicate any trace of this document. Eat it, burn it, dissolve it in acid, whatever. I take the receipt from Kenji as Rin is unable to do so and glance at it. It's indeed a receipt, apparently for 2 rice balls and 5 boxes of matches. I hope he's not planning to burn anything down. On the other side is written just one word. Honeymuffin. I show it to Rin too, but she shows no reaction. Thank you. Yo, Hisao, you still in that club? The Club of Dark Arts? Fine art. Anyway, yeah, actually we just had a meeting today. Still got your wits about you? No shady mind tricks going on? Nothing personal, man, but I have to keep on top of things. Can't get caught with my pants down. Speaking of which, you should really take showers a bit later. Gotta respect that personal space. Nothing personal. Kenji looks around as if he heard something and then straightens his jacket. Okay, I gotta scoot now before it gets too late. Or it gets too late. Later, dudes. Good luck. Kenji takes off rapidly towards the main gate. Rin looks after him, frowning. We watch after Kenji's diminishing figure in silence. What's wrong with him? Technically speaking, I think he's legally blind. Oh, I see. She sees. Ay, caramba. I don't think that was intentional, but that struck me as funny. Oh dear, here goes this again. Yeah, I think we're gonna call it here, folks. A little bit shorter than normal, but you know, whatever. So, for part 7 of Let's Play Katawa Shoujo Rin's Path, I'm your host, NeoMegaMan, signing off. End of line.